Anywho, you push past them and approach the large man who is studiously close enough to the permanent structures that everyone seems the waves of people seem to move around him in enough of a curve that he has space to stand without being constantly bumped into.
I shall wave to my companions to follow me, if they can still see me in this crowd, and head over to that relative safety.
I will basically stand next to you to keep people from running you over.
Yeah, we're flanking you.
Hello, halfling. Is anyone else around when I'm going up to speak to him?
Not that appears to be associated with the three of them. All three of them are there though, next to each other.
You handled yourself well there. Most people I would have seen do that would have lost a few fingers.
Oh, well, they're such little things. Not really worth taking that big of a bother about, eh?
Yeah, maybe a couple hands for you.
Oh, I've only got the two. But you've got a nice cozy spot here, and I will look around at the not bustling people.
Yep, people have always made sure to keep a little clear.
So, what kind of weapon do you have on your person?
Noticeably, I have a dagger on my belt and an axe. I'm thinking over my shoulder at the moment, just sort of casually hanging there. I do have a sling for it, but I have it out at the moment.
Oh, so what is your part in this great circus of a hunt?
Hoping to get the band together to try and take this thing down. A lot of money in it. And I saw you lot come in. I can't say I've seen anyone else come in with the, what was it, Bloody Hounds? Their paymaster, I think.
Yeah, Verve.
Yes.
I didn't recall any kind of sigil being on that coach, just it being very fancy. Was I mistaken?
I don't believe so.
Ah, are you, I don't know if the Bloody Hounds have friends. An acquaintance of theirs?
Oh, I'm a local. I've seen them all over the place.
Ah, yes. Well, we're not here for the Bloody Hounds. We're here as... Well, what is it we're here officially for, Verve? We're doing some horse thing for some noble, right?
I will, again, yawn or sigh and say, finding a horse, which I have found.
You ever let old Hugo know about that?
Well, no, not yet, but we need to eventually get a missive to him.
Oh, okay. I will turn to Vertstedt. You took your medicine today, right? As long as we're discussing things people have forgotten.
Did he give me just the one dose, or?
No, there were multiple doses.
Yeah. And you're supposed to rest.
Yeah, Verstappen will cough and say, of course I took my medicine, wrist. I did it while you were sleeping.
I will hand over the medicine because I was the one carrying it.
Thank you.
Vertstedt, you're making me feel like a nanny. If you're going to do a lie, at least put some effort into it.
Verstappen will look ashamed.
But it's nice to meet you, friend. I'm Wrist. You are?
Roland. Roland Langman.
Nice to meet you, Mr. Langman. But you got a thought that you have a group that could get the beastie?
Yeah, some capable folk, hopefully a tracker.
You mean you don't have a crew already? Or are you looking for one yourself?
I am looking for one myself. Nobles will pay a lot, but
How early
Looking
did
at
you get
Roland
here?
compared to the busyness around the lot of you, you notice that where a lot of people, the servants in particular, tend to wear some kind of series of colors or a sewn emblem or something denoting their service to an individual, Roland is conspicuously not seemingly among any of those groups.
I snap as if remembering an independent endeavor.
And why have you not signed up with one of the other bands?
Because all those servants and equipment is what's going to get him killed. I want something small, quick.
See,
I
just like
fidget
you, Risk.
nervously. Oh, well, maybe you want something big and quick, you know. Just pointing out, big, fast things are good.
And how long have you been standing out here this morning?
Maybe the last hour or so. Not too long.
All right, quick question. Let's get to the chase. How are you expecting to be paid for the stag? Because if we go off and get it, oh well, we'll have a great fun time trying to get it out of that wood without every other hunter being vexed with us. And that still doesn't
That's
get us
why
paid.
it goes straight to the families of the victims.
Go straight to the families of the victims, you say?
Of course.
At this point, the lot of you are rudely interrupted by some people that kind of push their way through you. Your sizes and potential intimidation factor be damned, and you notice that things are starting to get a little loud, and nobles are slowly but surely starting to gather towards the various buildings, and you do hear the essentially a town crier come out, but a man who's very good at shouting, who's basically shouting, "Sign-ups are open! Sign-ups are open for the hunt!"
Verstappen will nudge Verb.
But it's
and
very
say,
noisy out
Shouldn't we sign up? Who should be the leader of this expedition? I think you, with the tracking and the regal disposition, right?
And the paying the sign-up fee.
I will glare at Wrist.
Well,
Oh,
fortunately,
glorious
it makes
leader.
no difference to me if I sign up with someone else.
I will ask Risk. Wrist is. Do you think there are any other? Is there any other ideas rattling around in your head on how we might get in?
Oh, well, we can always find someone, probably won't be the best man, would want you as a scout, particular, because of just your fame, and then he'll be right if we don't succeed. But other than getting on, if we manage to get the beast ourselves, and we find it difficult to make it all the way back to town to the victims to somehow make money that way, we could, just send a message to some very kind, noble individual to say, hey, we've got the beast, and it's pre-killed for you. All you have to do is give us a bunch of money. Seems like a good racket. If our friend Roland there can handle himself as good as the dwarf.
I'll look at you, Verstat, and say, what do you think? Besides signing up, of course, we need to sign up.
Well, I think what Risk just explained is what they call it in college, extortion. I think it was extortion.
Oh, no, that's point of sale, lad.
Verstat will hand wave. Well, as you said, we need to sign up, and the more the merrier on this. So I think we should bring Mr. Roland with us. After all, a four-way split isn't that much different than three-way.
Mike, I am sending you some messages, by the way.
Yep, I'm just not sure how to convey them in-game yet. Especially that first one.
Plus, if
but
it's
I will
Verve,
look.
she can read the things to figure out what signing up for this even does, because it may only be for nobles or other things. I mean, is this a tourney? Do you get a prize if you catch the beast and bring it back?
Good questions.
I will look at Roland for a moment, kind of suspiciously, but then I will kind of just shrug and turn to wherever that crier was and say, well, let's get to the sign-up sheet first through this crowd, and then we'll talk about it later.
I point over to Vertstad. Actually, I don't think I know his name yet in character. So you're going to head this up, I presume?
Well, I can help pay some of the entry fee if there is one, but I thought Verve would head it up with she's quite the tracker. As you can tell just by looking at her, she's quite regal. Quite the
I
force
think
to be
it
reckoned
might be
with.
important for appearances if you or I at least look like we're heading it up.
Oh, we're dealing with those sort of people, are we? Very well.
I should note, Roland is not aware that Verve is an elf at the moment.
But I am a woman.
I didn't think so.
But I am a woman.
Yeah, that's what I was going with.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes. I mean, he doesn't know that you shoot lightning and Vertstadt burns down forests either, so...
That's also true.
So...
Vertstad, I don't know what he looks like, but I'm assuming like a relatively well-kempt, wearing red sort of man.
Not really.
You say?
Longish black hair. Have you ever seen Ragnar Lothbrok in Vikings? He's got that hairstyle, so it's shaved on two sides, and it's kind of long down the middle. It's kind of hanging on the back. He's got a chain attached to his grimoire, and he's wearing very bright clothing.
Like he does,
but it's really rugged and worn out.
He has kind of a
You
poor
look
scholar's look
scholarly.
to him.
Yeah.
But definitely a poor scholar.
Yes.
Not a wealthy one.
I mean, probably well-kempt.
Yeah.
Actually, he and I are probably about comparable in that respect.
Yeah, I guess the way you described yourself is fairly comfortable.
Also, keep in mind your status levels. If you ever have a curiosity about where you might come off as far as your rank in society based just on your appearance.
What would roughly be between the bronze and silver tiers?
Between bronze and silver would be basically people who are considered lower class but have managed to get a pseudo comfortable living to the point that they're not slaves or just servants or just the dregs of society. But that can also land you in the suspiciously potentially criminal category.
I mean, you're right.
Well, you can at least sign us on paper, Verstat.
Very well.
I will say, having grown up in Jettenberg, Roland, you could feel confident saying that none of you look the bill as a noble. Not even close. even for a town this size, which is not super colossal, but like y'all definitely do not look the part.
But
Yeah,
do we
I
need
look-
to?
I look more like a woodstocker than anything else.
I don't know. Y'all could send someone to sign up and see what happens.
Let's go.
Yep, we go sign up. We approach Town Crier Man.
All right. His eyes fall on the four of you, and you notice that even when you approach him, the man's voice seems to just be stuck almost at that very obnoxiously loud shout, and the closer you get, the more grating and irritating it is. And he is just sort of like pointing at various people and moving, and he points at the four of you, and he says, sign-ups are only for the hunter leading your group. Otherwise, head to the servants' quarters.
Very well. Where do I sign up?
He points behind him to a building and says, sign-ups for nobles are through here. Sign-ups for any others that wish to participate are through the... and he points to a much more derelict building on the side.
Can I roll a gossip check and ask him what's the difference?
You can.
So, my friend, what would the difference be between the noble section and the non-noble section be?
He looks at you and gives you a super flat look, and he just points to the side without saying anything at the much more derelict building.
Right. Thank you, sir.
Means what's the difference in pay?
He does look at you, Verve, and he starts shouting again so that everybody can hear him, and he says, 500 gold crowns to the one that slays the beast and brings it back. Its hide put on display for the murder of innocent nobles and for demonstrating their thrill before Tall, along with all of the accolades for being the great hunter of the year. And you notice there's a notable pickup in the frenzy of people, like, getting ready.
Very well. Let's go sign up.
Yep, we will make our way to the not noble section.
All right.
Sotek, as they do that, I will wave to them, and I want to gossip around to figure out who has the biggest rivalry amongst the nobles competing for this,
Okay.
and what their sigils and colors are.
Okay. Who do you want to gossip to? Just like whoever, or are you picking out specific kinds of people?
I'd pick out the people of silver status, the hired hands, and maybe a servant, but no one lowly, like just carrying stuff around.
I will point out you do have a local in your group.
Rist hasn't thought of that. He's not used to this idea of a local in the group.
Fair enough. Okay. You start asking around, which Roland, feel free to insert yourself if you want to roll a local lore check, which I believe you have.
Yep.
Feel free to roll for that if you want Roland to insert himself, or he can just let Risk do what he's doing. But Risk, asking around, you quickly start to realize that some of these people are not from here. Okay. I'll do Risk first, and then I'll join in with what Roland says.
Alright.
A lot of the people don't really know this. What you start to gather very quickly is this has gotten very sudden, very quick. There was not even a hunt originally planned to be a big event. It was more like it was one of the starting build-ups to the upcoming Ryan Festival in about a month's time, but because of the fact that somehow a stag of all things managed to murder a notable hunting party that had just gone out on more of a laissez-faire kind of situation hunt, there's now like all of this hubbub about it, so nobody really knows who's participating or who is here or who's local. Like, there are people that know each other, but barely anything has been established, and there's no headrunners at the moment, just because everything is just pure chaos right now.
All right.
That being said, Roland, which just to get you used to the way I like to disseminate information, whenever you roll for a check, I will just tell you what your character figures out or learns because of that, and how you present the information to the party is your business. Like, I do not do that for you.
All right, good to know.
So what you know, having been sticking around here the last few days and keeping your ear to the ground and having known who to speak to and recognizing a lot of the colors around, almost all of Jettenberg's upper class is getting involved. You see, somewhat to your disgust, that there are a number of people who definitely have no hunting ability whatsoever, are not associated with the yearly hunts. It seems a lot of people are treating this as a purely political move to either say they participated or like to show off how brave or wealthy they are. A lot of these people have no business being here. There's probably only 3 or 4 of the banners and colors that you see that designate actual famous hunters who are well known in the area for prior years. And you do see the banners of some gentlemen who have won in prior years, but you don't really see anyone that you would say has a super well-established rivalry. There are some... you do see a couple of banners of people bearing the Hochland colors, which likely means there might be people wielding some pretty crazy black powder weapons, using like Hochland long rifles and stuff, in which case if they're actual Imperial snipers or Imperial scouts, they might be really serious competition to consider, but you're not familiar with any of them. They're all not from here. But as far as actual hunters go, there is a noble by the name of where did I put his name? It's Ottrick von Bursmick. He's a pretty specialized hunter. Although he only specializes in like normal game, so if this stag is some kind of weird monster, or if people saw it and... Because although a lot of people are excited to hunt this thing, either most people don't believe the fact that it killed some boys, even though there's some actual hard evidence that it did, or a lot of people don't think it's a stag, and that it was mistaken as a stag, but maybe it's some kind of monster or beast man. So he specializes in taking down actual game, but not like monsters or things that may fight back. He's not a warrior, he's a hunter. So,
and this is the Hochlander?
No, he's from Jettenberg. He's a local. But he's won the yearly tournament that's held to honor Tull with a hunt. Usually it's held 3 weeks before the start of the Ryan Festival that comes up in a month, which is a really big deal for Jettenberg. Which Raya is, of course, Tull's wife, so they usually honorate Tull and then start getting prepared for the festival, which celebrates the yearly harvest and the end of the life of the year, so it takes you into late fall. But Bismarck is he is like the most renowned hunter, but in your mind, if this thing is not actually a stag, he would be at a huge disadvantage. But whether it is or not remains to be seen.
All right, I'm going to get Rist's attention real quick, likely just by tapping a knuckle on his shoulder.
Ah, yes.
All right. For the most part, there's not much we have to worry about. Only a couple groups really stand out from what I can see. You see those ones over there? The ones carrying the really long guns?
No, but I'll imagine them.
Sort of give a blank stare and then shake my head. They're Hochlanders. Way far. You ever heard of the long rifle?
Yeah, it's a really long rifle, right?
Yeah, usually put into skilled hands. I'd say watch out for them, for one. And I'm going to more obviously point them out.
Do you have a stool or something I can stand with? This is quite a crowd.
Yeah,
Riss is unable to see
I
because he's
imagine
3 feet
someone's
tall.
dropped another box somewhere.
for Vervstat and Verve, it's relatively difficult to see what you're pointing at. For Wrist, it's literally impossible. Unless you were to, like, pick him up.
I mean, if I hadn't just met him, I would consider it.
That's fair. But y'all don't need to necessarily hang around here. Are y'all heading into the derelict building, by the way?
Yes, I will.
Yeah,
I was
me
just
and
about
Berber.
to go on to the other noble, the local one.
Go ahead. Y'all can talk and walk. I should note, by the way, last thing, Roland, is that in the back of your mind, the more probably not technically following the rules and more of underbelly side of things, you do know there are some, I wouldn't call them nobles, but there are some mid-class hunters, either people who are in lowborn high society or people who are hunters by trade who would be very good people to ally yourselves to for this hunt, because if they were to win, it would be a huge deal for them and would be a big slap in the face to a lot of the higher up nobles, but aiding them would probably not be following the rules to any interpretation of the letter, and could definitely reward you with some enemies, but there might be a lot of pay in it.
All right, now them over there. That's what's the guy's name again? Could I have that written out somewhere?
Yes, I will type it in chat. Just worry about his last name.
Bismarck won a big hunting competition last year. If this thing is a stag, nothing weird about it, wrong with it. I think he's got the best odds of this lot. But if it turns out to be anything more, I think he'll probably shit himself before he actually got anywhere.
Does he usually go alone? Is he a lone deal, or does he have a...
Nobody that's a noble does this alone. Most of them use, and you can figure that out just kind of by looking around. You notice that a lot of these guys either are employing hunting hounds, seem to have a small company of people following them that also have weapons. If there are lone hunters, they're probably not high up nobles. Maybe some of the guys from Hawkland might hunt alone because they might be scoutmasters of the Empire. But if so, none of you would know them by look.
Sotek, is there a nice tall crate near this derelict tent?
Sure, I'll just pretend there's one. It just happened.
I kick someone in the shin so they drop an empty crate, and I stand atop it.
Okay.
And thank them politely for doing so. Can I look at and see what he's pointing out now?
Yes.
Do any of the people he's pointed out look like the man I met yesterday at the lodge?
No.
Oh, well, it looks like it'll be a right fun thing. Vertstadt, it may be good to, read very carefully all the stuff in that sign-up sheet.
Of
I
course.
assume they have rules and things.
If they let us bring it out, I'll read it aloud for all of us.
I don't think they will.
All right, you arrive at the derelict building. It's definitely one that probably was the main hunting house, like maybe 20 years ago, but they've built a new one in the time since then, likely due to some wealthy patron who just really likes hunting and is like, there is probably a notable little group of guys, a boys club in Jettenberg, who have single-handedly kept the hunting lodge area going. But the old building, it's still functional. There are just like holes that have been chewed out by termites in some of the walls. There are little patches of the ceiling that have been patched up so they don't look nearly as nice as they used to. But it's still a perfectly functioning building. And as you enter, you do see a lot more gruff individuals signing up. You see guys who look like they live out in the forest. Some of them have only one eye. Some of them are just covered in scars.
No
or
depth
have...
perception. Good. Okay.
And they're all most of them are fairly dirty looking. There are a couple of young men in there who look like they're a lot more cleaned up, but they definitely have an air of unsupported youth to them compared to the other nobles who are signing up at the fancy house. So